AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Dave Lucia. Dave is the VP of Engineering for Simplebet. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
JP.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start, Dave. Background of yourself, how you first got involved in tech, what got you interested in the field, talk us through some of the roles you've held along the way, and then take us up to Simplebet.
I got interested in technology as a teenager by way of video games. I used to play a lot of StarCraft, and I became interested in building levels of my own in StarCraft, and I got into the StarCraft editor and realized there was a GUI that you could use to build your own logic for levels. Then got interested, okay, well, I could do that in a GUI. What can I do on the web? And found JavaScript programming. This is late 90s, early 2000s for me. So, copying JavaScript snippets around and having a clock follow your cursor on your GeoCities website was a big thing. I was lucky in the sense that my high school offered computer science classes, and I started out with a Visual Basics course, then moved on to AP Computer Science and did Java, and then ultimately went to Binghamton University and studied computer science. So that was sort of my entry into programming, but then after graduating after 4 years from Binghamton University with a bachelor in computer science, I went on and started working at Bloomberg, based out of New York City. So at Bloomberg, I was first started my career out as a C++ developer working on the Bloomberg Tradebook trading platform. And that was a really interesting way to start my career off, being involved in low latency C++ code where we were deploying code right next to an exchange, and having to have all of your code execute request response in under a millisecond was fun. Not quite high frequency trading, but certainly not something I was used to. And from there, so I spent about 2.5 years at Bloomberg Tradebook. Wanted to get a little bit closer to the cutting edge and found my way over at Bloomberg.com. So this is about like 2014 now. And at Bloomberg.com, they were just about to re-architect and relaunch the website, both from a branding perspective and from a technology perspective. And so it was a really great time to get into the team and to participate. And so I switched teams. Bloomberg was a great company to work for, and one of the cool things was that they really encouraged people to switch teams. And that allowed me to move in at a time where I got to learn something new. This was around the time that single-page apps were being all the rage. If any of your listeners do any front-end development, this is before React.js or anything like that existed, and everyone was using Backbone or something similar to build their websites. And we built a single-page app framework and used that to launch the new Bloomberg.com, all in Node.js, which was an interesting choice at the time, maybe more common now. So we launched Bloomberg.com. I worked everything from the front end to the very back end, and was in the media space for a while. Got introduced to Josh Topolsky, who was the head of digital media at Bloomberg at the time, and he left to start his own company called The Outline, which I ended up joining. And I spent another 2 years at The Outline, where I was a senior developer working on a very small team, building out a content management system and ad serving platform for a very design-focused website. And that was a very interesting journey. Got introduced to the technology elixir, which I'm very passionate about, and sort of hone my skills there. And then about a year and a half ago, I left the outline and joined where I'm currently at, which is Simplebet. So we can
Amazing.
talk about what Simplebet is and the technologies there, but that's the
Yeah.
road to getting there.
No, I really appreciate it. Thanks for talking us through it. Really clear and helps understand your journey, and it definitely gives some insight into how initial curiosity in a particular area can grow and evolve into a fully fledged career.
Yeah.
Bloomberg, obviously a great organization to learn from, and then getting the chance at the outline. So I do want to come back to your point on Elixir because I know that's a passion of yours, but let's stay with Simplebet. So you joined Simplebet in January of 2019 as a software architect, and you've grown internally within the business to now VP of engineering. So for those listening who are not familiar with Simplebet, who are you guys and what are you doing?
Simplebet, our mission right now is to power the future of fan engagement. And what we're really focused on right now are micro level sports betting markets. You might be familiar with sports betting in the sense of hearing, betting on the spread or a line. And there's a lot of sports betting that's exists for decades, over 100 years even. But we're moving in sort of the future direction, which is what if you can bet on a sport while it's happening? What if you could bet on every moment of the sport and turn it into an opportunity for entertainment? So if you take baseball, for example, what if you could bet on every pitch of a baseball game? Or for football, American football, what if you could bet that Tom Brady's going to throw an interception? These are the things that we're working on enabling.
So there's quite a lot there, and I don't want to move on and skim over it because this is an obvious next step of evolution of in-game live betting. I don't think there's something that gives you such specific actions. Very exciting. Talk to us then about how complex this is to actually execute, because there's real time and then there's stuff that's at any moment. So can you give us some insight into how you guys do what you do?
Sure. Let me give some more clarity for what that really means, powering in-game sports betting. So our product enables a sports book to offer these types of live markets. And so, you might go to your favorite sports book, either, in a casino or on a mobile app or, on the web, and you'll place a bet with them. And when you're placing a bet, you're getting some odds. What we do is we set those odds. And we don't just set them, but we're also defining when the market starts and when it ends and which selection won. Now, in order to do that, it requires a lot of data. We're a very data-driven company. So at the core of everything is machine learning, and that's where our value really comes. So we take a backlog of data for many years, and we'll build our models off of that historical data, and that's useful for building, designing, and testing models. But that alone is not enough to build our product. Obviously, we need to know to offer a live betting market what's happening in the game, and for that we leverage real-time sports data from a few providers who resell data on behalf of sports leagues. And so we combine that real-time data with the historical data set, and we do machine learning in real time and propagate the odds of these markets derived from these models, and sell that as a service to our customers.
And then your customers are the one who take it to the consumers, the end users ourselves.
That's
excellent.
Right.
Very interesting role. So VP of engineering, you obviously oversee all the production and build. Talk to us about how that role has evolved over time. You obviously went in as the platform software architect, and you've grown as the organization has become more successful. Can you give us some insight into what your role involves, some of the interesting projects you're working on, and how it will continue to evolve over time?
Yeah, absolutely, JP. So like you said, I started off at Simplebet as platform software architect. What that meant at the time was that I was leading a small team here in New York that was focused on the coordination of building those markets that I was talking about. And not just that, but at the time, actually building out a machine learning framework in Rust that implemented our models. At the time, we actually had a separate data science team and machine learning engineering team. Our machine learning engineering team was implementing the models that our data science team created. I gave a whole talk about this at CodeBeam SF. You can look up the talk. It's called Rustling Up Predictive Sports Betting Models. Now, as I transitioned into VP of engineering, I needed to move to like a higher level of thinking, but also sort of get out of the day-to-day and more into strategic thinking about, how we're organizing our teams, how we're building our product, what is the team structure, the team topology, and spending a lot of time, focus more on like roadmaps and things like that. So that's changed even more recently as we've hired our CTO, Simon, and that's let me sort of get back into the weeds and focus more on, some of our teams that are working on very specific projects. So you asked about, what kind of things are we focusing on right now? Now that we've matured a little bit as an organization and we're waiting eagerly for sports to open back up, what's become really important for us is to improve our integration methods for our customers. And so we put, a real focus into thinking really hard about how do we want our customers to consume our odds feed, and using things like RabbitMQ and AMQP, and moving away from technologies like Kafka. So choosing something that's maybe a little bit more boring, but a little bit more well-known. And then also thinking about, okay, now that you have a product live, what's your observability story? How do you conform to your SLAs? Building a reliable product that you have confidence in is a big focus right now.
So your role is obviously multifaceted. You're still hands-on. You're leading a team. You've been there from early on and growing with the organization, and obviously some major projects ahead, particularly once sports open up, because God knows everyone's missing it. What are you enjoying most about your job? What do you love most about your role at Simplebet, and more importantly, what are you most excited about going forward?
The best part of my job is working with great people and working on technologies that I find very interesting. So doing machine learning in real time for sports is just like a fascinating problem, and one that's kept me fascinated for the past year and a half. But what really excites me is that being at this company and having beta products out, but not really having a product live in market for a year and a half, it makes you itching to want to get something out there and show people your hard work. So we're really excited for sports to come back up, because it's the first time that our product will be live in the market with real end users, and we'll be able to see if what we're betting on and what we believe in so much is truly as special as we think it is.
Yeah, it's got to be very exciting. I know we're all looking forward to sports coming back, but you guys even more so with the impact that this product can have. So looking forward then, assuming all goes well and we get back to some sense of normality soon post-COVID, where does Simplebet go from here? How are you guys going to evolve over the next year to 3 years, and what are the other milestones down the line that you're looking towards? Is it other sports? Is it other regions? What's next?
Well, we're a small startup, and we're still getting our footing in the ground. So right now for us, it's about getting out an initial product that's sticky and people love, and really thinking about how to craft an end user experience that people want to come back to. And so once you have like that core mechanic there, it's growing its breadth. And so we started out focused on baseball, and we moved our eyes set on NFL now, and I think it'll be growing sports from here. And adding more types of live in-game markets as we move forward.
So then, Dave, just before we move off Simplebet, I want to get a sense of the types of opportunities that there could be with an organization like Simplebet as you guys evolve and grow. Obviously, you're working on all things engineering, but can you give us some insight into what takes a product like this to market? You know, how many people are involved and the various skill sets that are required, and what you guys are going to need more of in the future.
Well, we have a data product, right? And all data products need to start with, before you could do analytics on anything, you have to have the data itself. So that means sourcing the data and building out a really strong data engineering team. So we have a data engineering team of about 5. And, we leverage open source technology like Apache Airflow for collecting historical data and storing it in our data warehouse. We have a machine learning engineering team, which is focused in a Python setting, and they're focused on feature engineering and improving our own internal tooling, and spending a lot of time on automation. Then we have our Elixir teams, which are focused on the coordination of real-time data and creating those markets. That's a task that involves ingestion as well as pushing out to that RabbitMQ feed that I talked about earlier. And then we have an infrastructure team, an SRE team, which is focused on making all of our services reliable, stable, and observable. So within that, there's a lot of opportunity to grow as we add more to our product and add more sports and add more markets. And I think for your audience here, I think what's particularly interesting is our machine learning engineering team, who's built a lot of tooling on top of things out there like scikit-learn, and building our own extensions which are specialized to our particular domain, and using a lot of the existing latest and greatest technologies that are open source and integrating them into our pipelines to make everything automated. And that just means that we can deliver value to our customers faster.
No, it's great to get the insight into what you guys are using and what potential opportunities there are going to be for people down the line. I want to go back slightly just as we close off, Dave, because you spoke about your time at the Outline where you were writing in Elixir, and I know it's something that you and I have spoke about previously. That's something you're particularly passionate about. So could you give us some insight into why that is the case, and what drew you to it and why you've enjoyed it so much?
I found Elixir by way of a manager who I worked for, Pavan, at Bloomberg. And at the time, I was writing Slack bots for fun. Elixir is a language. It comes out of the Ruby community. The founder of Elixir is Jose Valim, who was a core committer to Rails, Ruby on Rails. Elixir builds on top of a much older language, which is Erlang. Erlang came out of the telecommunications company Ericsson, which is a Swedish company. And they were trying to solve the problem of, I have a telephone switch, and I want to be able to switch, hundreds of thousands of different telephone connections on a single machine, and I want them to be fault tolerant. So if I drop a connection over here, I don't want that to affect a phone call over there. And so Erlang was born out of this, and it's a highly concurrent functional programming language and virtual machine. And what's so special about it is that processes are very lightweight. So, I mentioned the goal for 100,000 concurrent telephone connections. Building out on Elixir and Erlang, you can have over 2 million connections running on a single machine. And that's what the Phoenix framework, which is the web framework for Elixir, was able to achieve out of the box. And so for me at the Outline and at Simplebet, this really incredible yet underutilized in the industry virtual machine allows me to build software and really just think about what is the problem I'm solving, not making it fast, because the virtual machine is built for concurrency. and it's built for fault tolerance, I can write code with confidence, and usually it's very fast and works really well. So at the outline, we were serving millions of users a month, and we were able to get by with just 2 Heroku dynos. And if I compare that to Bloomberg, where we were running many dozens of machines, you can get by with a lot less. And not just that, but all these concurrency primitives allows you to run many things, background jobs and all this coordination in a single programming language environment. Whereas if you're dealing with something else, let's say it's Python, you're dealing with a G-Unicorn web server, and you got to stand up Celery, and you have to put all of this technology together just to do a few basic tasks. And with Elixir, you can just write Elixir code, and you get all of those things for free with the VM. So to me, it's a very special development environment that I don't think is as popular as it deserves.
Well, hopefully you've helped make it more popular with giving some insight. I think it's great to learn about I don't want to say obscure, but less well known coding languages, because it's all got to start somewhere, and it sounds like you've got a lot of benefit from it. And who knows, maybe you've sparked some curiosity for others who will take it up. So thank you for that. Dave, listen, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed hearing about the origins of Simplebet, the business model, your role, and what's in store. Very much looking forward to using it myself and benefiting from it. And we wish you guys all the best in the future.
Well, JP, thank you so much for having me on and taking the time. Really appreciate it.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. For more information, contact mark@alldus.com. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.